Hey there, it's Erin with Time Saving Templates, and today I'm going to go over a common question that we're getting with one of the inventory templates we have. We're going to be going over the inventory and Handmade Sellers inventory system. It's also called High Volume Seller System. And I have another video that goes over details of how to use this template, so I'm just going to go over that briefly, but I'll link to the original video if you want to see a more thorough example. But the question that's been coming up I'd like to go over is what to do with the start of the new year when you are using this specific template to track your inventory. So with most of the spreadsheet templates we have at Time Saving Templates, I usually recommend save a blank version of it. Then you just have a blank version that you can come back to each year. But this one is kind of different because there are certain pages that you don't want to have to redo at the beginning of the year. So let me just give you an overview real quick of what we're working with here. This template is set up to track raw materials that go into a finished product. So it's great for a small handmade business. And I have some sample information in here, actually from when I used to sell wedding wine charms a long time ago. So this is some old sample data. There's several different tabs here at the bottom. The inventory purchase is your raw materials. And then the pricing worksheet is where you would name the finished product and then list all the raw materials that go into that product. And that helps you figure out the total cost of one item. And then it also has some calculations to provide recommended retail prices. And there's about 100 of these boxes. So depending how many finished products you have, this is the part where you don't want to have to start over with a completely blank worksheet because you want to keep these once you go through and you link all the raw materials to specific item names. Then you want to keep that for the next year. And then the next page will list out all your finished items. So this is just going to pull in what we have listed for the item name and item ID here. And as you mark these sold, it's going to deduct your raw materials that you already said were part of that specific item. So if this bride wine charm sells 5 times, it's going to deduct all these materials 5 times the amount of material that's in each finished product. So you'll see I have some information filled out. The green cells are the ones where information can be entered, and all the gray cells are formulas. So the raw materials page is where the majority of the tracking happens to calculate, the materials you purchased and then minus what has been sold to get you your materials available. So this will list out all the raw materials as where this page lists out the finished item names. Okay, so first things first, when you are starting a new year, I'm always going to recommend before you delete anything, you need to make sure you have versions saved so that you do not delete your previous year's information. So I've added a -2021 right here. And then for the example, we don't want to accidentally delete anything for 2021. So we're going to do a file, save as, and do another one for 2022. So now that we have a second version saved for 2022, actually before we start deleting anything, we need to make a copy of this raw materials page. So just right click on the tab, click move or copy, and check create a copy, and then move it to the end. It adds a 2 to the end of it, but it's just a copy of that worksheet. So we could rename it previous year or 2021. But what you definitely want to do is remove all these formulas, because when we delete the information, this will update and it will change. So in order to prevent this from changing, just highlight the whole worksheet, press Control-C to copy. Paste special values. That removed all the formulas. So now if we make any changes in the other pages, nothing is going to link or update here. So we know this is 2021's final inventory count. It did change the format over here, but that shouldn't be a problem. So you could name it 2021 final inventory count. And you also have the other file to reference. It just helps to have the numbers here. It's going to help us update the file. I'm just going to rename the tab by clicking in it, 2021. So there's no confusion. Now this page will still have all the formulas, so it's going to update anytime we change information. We do need to click a data and refresh all button, but I'll do that here in a second. Let me first come in here and I'm just going to highlight the green cells, which is where we had entered our information. Just highlight the data you've entered and then click the delete key. So what you don't want to do, or try to avoid doing this, is you don't want to right click and select the delete and then shift the cells around. If I do that, I'm going to get an error. It's going to mess up the formulas. So we're just going to undo. And that goes with all the templates we have. You never want to shift cells around because everything is kind of linked together. But we've deleted all the items sold. And so now our COGS is set back to 0, but we still have all the finished item names listed here and the cost of the goods. And that's all based on what has been entered in the pricing worksheet. So going back to the first tab, the raw materials, we're going to go ahead and delete. So I always just double check that there's no hidden columns. It would skip a letter if there was something hidden. So we're just going to highlight to the price paid. We don't need to delete the gray cells because those are formulas. So all the templates have gray cells as formulas. The green cells are where you need to enter something. And then the white is you can enter something, but you don't have to. So now we have everything zeroed out in there. And so if I come back to the raw materials inventory and click refresh all, now we have no raw materials. But chances are you do have raw materials. You didn't just end the year and have 0 inventory. So we want to carry over the raw materials you had so we can carry it over into the new year so we can get an accurate count of how much you do have available. I'm going to go ahead and delete this blank row here. Okay, so I'm going to copy the raw material name first, just highlight and Control-C to copy. And then we're going to go to inventory purchased and Control-V to paste. And you might notice this average price per unit. This is the most recent version of the template has this new feature added. So I just added it in for this example. So what this will do is putting in the starting inventory that we have for January, but as you add purchases below that for, say, the same items, if you're restocking, it will continue to add up everything that you've purchased and get an average price per unit for your items. Let me go ahead and get the rest of the information. So we're starting out with this material we ended in. This is materials available as of the end of the previous year. So I'm going to do a Control-C to copy the materials available. And then we're going to paste that into quantity and package, Control-V. And then we might have to go a little bit, work backwards to get this price per unit. Or if you have the unprotected formula version, you could just paste your average price per unit over this price per unit because this is not an actual package that you bought. It's just the remaining balance of what you had left at the end of the year. So we could take this average price per unit from the previous year, and I'm going to do another Control-C. The easiest way is just going to be to copy over the formula, which I don't usually recommend, but just for the start of a new year, it might be easier. So we do want to make sure to keep the formulas intact below our section because as we're adding new purchases, we do want it to calculate, say we bought a package of 200 items for $25, then that formula is going to calculate for us that it's 13 cents per unit. So we do want to keep that formula there for the others. If you want to fill out price paid, you could kind of estimate that for your remaining items just by taking the quantity in the package times price per unit and entering that there. So you could also calculate this price paid and then paste it in if you don't want to paste over that formula. So either way, it'll get you to the same price per unit, that average price per unit from the previous year and the previous year's materials. So from there, now that we've added that inventory in, I'm going to go back to raw materials, do a data refresh all. Okay, so from there, it should update our materials available. And then I would go ahead and click save, and then we're ready to start using this file for the new year. So as you make purchases, you would enter the raw materials you purchased in here. And then as your items are made or sold, you would enter it in here. So for example, we have the bride's charm. You would just continue entering the total amount that you're selling. And then after you do that, just click data refresh, and it's going to update that we have 10 of those bride charms sold, and it's going to update our materials available. And that way you can track when it's time to reorder. And all of the pricing worksheet we left the same. That way we still have all the raw materials tied to our items, but there are 100 different boxes in here, so you can continue adding more finished products as you get to it. There you go. That's how you reset your file for the start of a new year when you're using the raw materials inventory tracking template. And I hope this video was helpful. And if you enjoyed that, feel free to like and subscribe. And we also have some free resources for you to check out if you go to timesavingtemplates.com/free resources. We have some free templates for small businesses, rental property management, and human resources and compensation, as well as a free Get Started with Excel video. And to find the template that we just went over, you're going to go to timesavingtemplates.com, go to the shop button, and you could click on Handmade Templates by Category and click on that inventory tracking, and that will list all of our inventory templates, so you can find this one. I'll also link to another video that goes over the other inventory templates that we have. If you don't have handmade items and you still want to track your inventory, there's other templates and options to do that as well. So I hope this helps, and until next time, don't forget, I'm here to help you streamline and save time when it comes to using your Excel spreadsheets. Thanks.